on, guys? This is Shano, and we're talking about the Dodge Charger, the next Dodge Charger. And there's some bad news for you guys. Depending on the cheaper model and swapping an easy swap of that inline turbo to a Hemi V8. Now, we got some pictures here of the chassis over here, and you can see, and trust me, this is the front end on the left. The inline six, the way they have this design is for a EV, where the battery would go underneath and have that be able to carry the inline six turbo, as we can see right here. Now I got another picture for you over here, so trust me, this is the back of the car, this is the front of the car. All right, as you can see where like the battery would be placed, as far as the EV models and whatever, you know, like a frunk or whatever they're going to have in the front. Here's another picture overlay over here of where the, let's see if I have this right. Yeah, where this is the front. Oh, sorry about that. This is the front of the car. I think this is an EV form, maybe. I'm pretty sure it's EV form. Now, there might be a difference. This is the thing. I'm going to go to this picture right here. Here we go. All right. Now, we can all agree this is the inline turbo. Now, if you look at this picture, this is probably one of the best pictures right here to show you of how the car was designed around the inline turbo and meant for an EV. This car is not, even though, say, the transmission, people are like, well, the Jeep's going to get it and stuff. They already made that car for the Hemi. So it's obviously, if it's a wider design, it's meant for the Hemi, it's going to be an easy replacement for an inline to be into a Jeep, right? This car is not the same. For everybody out there planning on swapping out a low base Charger, it's not going to happen. It's not going to be an in and out. In fact, it's going to be very interesting. Now, if we blow this picture up again, this looks a little bit different. This might be the EV version right here is what we're looking at up top. Yeah, this looks like there's some type of system in there for the EV. It looks like there's a lot of space going on. And then we look at this picture right here, you see where the motor is going to be, right? So that's meant, but if you see the outside of this bar right over here to the strut, and you see the layout of this is not a normal layout. This is designed for the EV. Excuse me, let me go back. This is designed for the EV and have enough space for this. You know, I don't know much about the EV components of every single car. So it looks like, you know, electrical box, whatever you want, a fuse box. I don't know what the hell you call it. I'm not into EVs, but that looks like, you know, the control system or whatever. And then there's like there's a space right there, a big space. Now, that's going to be interesting far as crash tests, depending on, you know, this version versus an actual, a big, you know, having an engine up front. So that's going to be interesting. But as you can see, as it's meant, we'll put the engine in here, and you can see how the car is just wrapped. I wish this would stop doing that. Is wrapped around the inline. This car was designed, from all these pictures right here, this car was designed for an inline, like its body. So if you plan, this is not a normal engine bay. This is not a swap from like the Jeeps are. If you plan on trying to fit a Hemi in here, you're going to have a lot of issues, a lot of clearing issues, a lot of, let's just put it this way, it's going to go, let's go back to this other picture here and see this layout. Now, that's not the engine, obviously. The engine's going to come up front right here, and it's going to have that brace. And this, look how the way this front end's designed. Sorry about the, it's being very touchy for some reason. I'm trying to, so this is not going to be, this is going to be a cut job, in my opinion. This is going to be like, if you want to go through all that effort to put a Hemi in here, you're going to be going to a chop shop. You're going to be going to a, sorry about the pictures jumping around, you're going to be going to a chop shop. So yeah, this is definitely the EV, but you can see how they designed it. You can see they purposely designed how flush that is, how everything is meant to have the EV and the inline only. So this right here, it's just, I've never seen like a setup like this before. I mean, to have, because they're basically doing both, but that just shows to me it's like they have no intentions of redesigning this car for a Hemi. So that's what I'm getting from the pictures. Could I be wrong? It's possible that people, you know, I could be. Maybe there's a different nose they'll put on the car if things go south. Maybe they'll change, you know, maybe they'll come out of the model. I mean, it's only sheet metal, you know, so, or stamp metal, whatever, yada, 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 you know, how they build the car. It's possible that they, you know, they have a backup plan in case things go south, which I think they will. Some people are going to buy the twin turbo. They're going to race against the Hemis. They're going to do this. They're going to do aftermarket. And they're going to think that that's what's going to get them going, you know. And there's going to be Dodge guys. There's going to be people out there that are going to do that. Okay, they're going to pop up the inline six and race them against Hemis, and then they're going to have the EV with its high horsepower racing the Hemis and racing the inlines, and they're going to hope that that's what, you know, people just say, you know what, I like the car, it's still making power, who cares about the V8 anymore? Okay, so that's what they're hoping for. But remind you, this is based off a 69, I would say a 69 Dodge Charger. The General Lee, that era. The most famous car that Dodge has. And it's insane that they didn't do this earlier. I'm not even talking about the older, obviously the older Charger, which is a little bit based off its design, but this is actually more intentional. This is more based off of, you know, a two-door, it's a big car, or not big like the old one, but you get what I'm saying. You know, they're getting rid of their old Charger, which was like more like a Coronet Charger, you know, 4 doors and stuff like that, but it still was a, you know, a badass car. And they're getting rid of their Challenger, which is a 2-door an actual 2-door muscle car, and they're both muscle cars. And they're replacing it with like the genuine 69 look. For the, not all the way. Obviously, they're not going to do an exact match like they did with the Challenger. Well, it's still not an exact match, but you get the idea. They kind of stuck more to its, you know, its roots when it came to the Challenger. So the Charger, they brought back some of its roots in a newer design, but it's just, it sucks, because looking at these pictures that came out of the body, the chassis, the frame, which way you want to call it, everybody has their own name for them. You can argue all day about it. Just looking at it though, it's just, you can tell it's just not meant for a Hemi. Now again, can Dodge do something about the front end? I don't know. It's really up in the air, but I know from these new pictures that popped out, that this car is not meant, you can't fit it. Basically, you can't fit a V8 in it. You just can't. You're gonna have to do some cutting. That's what I see. But if you're doing some cutting and some welding and all this other stuff that you got to do, you know, like, how is that gonna go? You know, how is that gonna change the car's? Change everything. So it's a lot of work to get an engine into the new Charger, when you can go buy, and again, it's a cool car, but would it be worth it? Would it be worth you spending all that money doing that? Maybe on a YouTube channel, maybe you find a wrecked one, maybe, you know, whatever. But for a lot of guys, a lot of people out there, it's not going to be worth it. It's not going to be worth buying the base thinking you're just going to swap it out. So just keep that in mind. It's not going to happen. It's almost like they purposely did it that way, you know. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen like something so. It's really, really narrow. It's really narrow the way they built, they made everything. So that's just sucky ass. And I'm sure, again, some people are going to be able to do it and find a way to do it, but it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be like a Jeep. I'm going to be honest. Like, I really hope people don't buy the car, because if you start buying it and falling for this shit, the problem is that, and then especially with the jacked up prices, the problem is that you're going to accept the loss. And what people need to do out there is to not buy. Stop buying the high priced cars. Stop buying these overpriced the muscle cars. I understand if it's 1,000 horsepower or so, and it's got a higher price tag, but just because it has like some type of power in it, or it's a newer model, like, they start jacking up the prices, the trucks, I mean, everything. Stop buying them. Give them the message. Let them lose money. If they're losing money, no one's buying, they're gonna do a couple things. They're gonna bring the prices down, because it only takes them paying everybody the metal work, besides the engineers and stuff like that, like the actual making. Once everything's done, the actual assembly of that car, it's probably like, it's probably like $3 to $5 grand or something like that to make each one. And they're selling them for like 70. So stop buying them. Go buy a used Challenger or Charger or something, or do your own thing if you want, if you're looking for that. There's other options out there. The only real option right now is the Mustang and its price bracket as far as American muscle. There is other cars out there, that maybe some European cars that have some V8s. They might have a higher price tag, who knows, but then there might be some other options out there. But as far as American muscle, the Mustang, from what Ford says, they're keeping the V8, they're keeping the Mustang, like they always will, and they'll never switch off, because they know they can make all the EVs and like the 4 turbos and whatever they want to make. But they were smart enough to understand one thing: you don't mess with the V8, and you don't mess with it in the Mustang. It should always be there, and there should always be a manual option, because there's plenty of EVs and there's plenty of gas savers out there. It's not like everybody's driving a V8. It's not the old days, and that's what they want you to think, like, climate could change and blah 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 blah. A lot of the new cars today, throughout a lot of the last God knows how many years, like, go towards fuel economy. They've been doing that for a while, and they've gotten better as far as hybrids and fuel efficiency and stuff like that, and CO2 and all, or carbon emissions. They've done that. So let me get to this part right here. So don't fall for it. Just don't fall for the crap. Stop buying it. I don't care if you have the money. I don't care if you can buy a 500. You're ruining it for other people. Buying these high-priced cars because you have, like, I hate to say that, but you're actually ruining it for the experiences of other people that don't make 5 figures plus. Hell, even if you make $100 grand a year, some of these cars are like $100 grand or more, and that's crazy. That's to me, I just go by the price of the car, how much you make. You could have saved for the last 20 years and been like, yeah, I'm going to blow it. I'm going to blow money on a car. That's up to you, but I'm just saying it's getting out of hand. The more we do that, the more money that we're going to have to make, the more they're going to say, if they're buying, we're just going to keep doing it and we're going to keep going up. So that's my opinion. When this car comes out, if you buy it, congrats, or whatever else. But I'm saying 2 things here. One thing, if you think you're going to do an easy Hemi swap, it's not going to happen. The second thing is that I would say give them the message. Don't buy it. Just don't buy it. Take a look at it, rent one, if you or something, I don't know, but just don't buy it. You're never going to get that V8 back. You're never going to get it back if people if people dive into it. That's all I know. And if Dodge decides, that's just, they want to get out of muscle altogether and just stick with the Jeeps and stuff because they can't go backwards, that's on them. It's their fault. They could have easily engineered a new, like, dual overhead cam Hemi, like Ford did back with the Camry day. Some people are like, well, they can argue the point, but the 427 Camry made 600 plus horsepower. It had it basically, in a lot of, besides NASCAR using push rod engines, they use a shorter stroke. They use titanium everything and titanium springs, but it's still possible to get valve float, but they still can get the RPMs up because of this titanium and the stronger valve springs and the shorter stroke. They can reach a higher RPM, but most push rods can't. They're usually, like, just like the Hemis they have out today, cut off at like 5,600 RPMs or something like that. So make an overhead cam with VVT Hemi, you'll get higher RPMs without no issues, 7,000 plus, and you'll get more horsepower. But now you have, say a 5.7 overhead cam, you'll have more horsepower, definitely. If Ford can make it without VVT with a single overhead cam back in the, in 60, I think it was like 65, 64, 65. If they can do it and make 600 plus horsepower on their overhead cam Hemi, there should be no problem for Dodge to make a VVT version of a dual overhead cam Hemi, and that would get rid of the lifter problem, the lifter location. No more lifter problems and cam chewing up and all this other crap. Cut your valve seals in for the pressed, and have plenty of power, like plenty of room to make power. Make more same horsepower these inline turbos are pushing out, and still be able to save some fuel if they want to, introduce some new technology as far as like, Chevy's got a 5.5 liter pushing out 670. Just from, besides the flat plane crank, I would say, well, it's that also helps as far as the higher RPMs. Let's just put it that way. It's higher RPMs, more horsepower. The high, RPM is not just based off of that, it's also based off the stroke, yada yada yada. But you see where I'm going with this. You see where they can, and they could just, stop with the old school stuff and also changing the old school stuff so that brakes, like they did, they moved the cam position up. The lifter's location is now 15 degrees or something like that. I think it's like 15, 20 degrees, or it looks like 15 degrees, and instead of a 90-degree angle. But bring the Hemi into the future. Bring it up to date. I think people would welcome a dual overhead cam Hemi V8. It would be like, whoa, with the variable valve timing, or something like Chevy has with the system where it, actually allows the valve to open longer or open more. That new system they put in place is really cool. There's new technologies out there. So that's it, guys. I'm going to get out of here, but that's some sad news is that you're not going to do some quick swap, unfortunately, looking at all the evidence. And, where's it going to go? I can't wait to see what happens. I really can't wait. And a lot of stuff, it's my opinions and stuff like that, but it sucks. And to be honest with you, this is a nice car, and if I was just looking for a two-door car with some power, again, if this was the inline turbo, the only way I would buy this car inline turboed if it was all-wheel drive, because it's not a muscle car. So I would say inline turbo, all-wheel drive. Now, there's plenty of options out there with BMW and everything else, because we all know the price tag. You can go get a X4M. You can get, there is options out there with all-wheel drive, inline turbos, or something that is turboed with all-wheel drive, and smoke this thing all day long on the street, because it's only going to be rear-wheel drive. Supposedly, for right now, it's going to only be rear-wheel drive in its combustion engine form. And then at that point, I'm going to be like, it's a really cool car, or whatever. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't like it, but you know what? For that price, I can look somewhere else with that, even with that much horsepower, and do it better, So we're going to wait and see. Leave the comments down below. Just on everything. Your opinions, they matter. Don't be telling me, tell them. Later, guys.